Welcome to another episode of Altitude Advantage. I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez, here in the Broncos studio, across the table from our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla. And we're here to break down the upcoming matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Broncos are 5-2 and look to extend their home winning streak to 9 games. They already lead the league in having the best home record in the NFL. There's so much to get to. We have some comments to go over, talk about the Dallas offense, how the defense can respond in this game, break into some wide receiver, secondary action, and then so much more. We're going to break down a lot. That's what these Thursday episodes are about. And of course, we're rocking our throwback. Well, I am. It kind of threw up on me a little bit. But how excited are you? I mean, it's throwback week. I know it's one of your favorite weeks, and you dropped some articles on DenverBroncos.com talking all about it.
That's right. I
Plugged
do.
You.
I do. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't get they must have forgotten to drop my jacket off for me. That's tough. But I'll be okay. I'll survive. I think one thing about the throwback, and I know every time we wear them, and I said this Monday as well, I think, but every time we wear them, are your earrings throwback too? Or no, you're just adjusting?
I need to make my way over to the team store of the jewelry section. I haven't hit that yet.
Oh.
You just gave me an idea. See what you do?
There you go. Get ready.
You know what I call it? I call it investing in what I love, which is the team store.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it is the team store. I know everybody says like these should be the permanent uniforms. I wouldn't complain if they were the permanent uniforms. They're beautiful. I like them a lot.
Gorgeous.
But as I said Monday, I think that there is something that keeps it like a little special. It's like a little it's like a secret or like a little prize you get to unwrap a couple times a year when you only can wear them a few times. And we are wearing them more than we did last year. An NFL rule change allows teams to wear their alternates 4 times now. So you've got the blue that we wore against the Bengals and then 3 throwbacks. But I like that I like that it's like a little bit rare, or it's something that only comes around every few weeks or a few times a year. I think that's good. I think it keeps it special. It would still look great, but I think if you wore them every week, it would get a little bit it would become routine, right? And so instead, now when we break them out, people are like, oh my gosh, it's happening.
It's happening. It's happening. I mean, I get excited.
Yeah, and you should be. They're great. They're awesome. But I think that excitement would fade, I think, a little bit if we did it every week. So I like that they're throwbacks. The normal logo, as you can see on our Copilot PCs, new skins on these things. The normal logo is great too. One of the better logos in the NFL. So it's nice to have them both. But all that said, yes, excited for the throwbacks. Broncos were 2-0 in the throwbacks last year. So that record.
Drop the stats on us.
Record. Maybe Surtain breaks out the pick 6. I don't know. Maybe Bo. He had a nice game in the throwback against the Chiefs last year. So when you look good, you play good, and the Broncos definitely look good in these uniforms.
I think everything about throwback games are just so much fun because from the field being, different to even our social channels changing with the old school logo, it's a fun time. And again, it's even more fun when you're winning because funner is not a word. I said more fun. I switched it off.
Nailed it.
But, the Broncos are 5-2. They're going into this matchup. I know Broncos country is excited. I know the comments must be popping. We didn't get to any last week because it was just so much to go over. But yeah, let's take a temperature check. How's Broncos country doing?
Let's dive into some of the comments. If you are watching on YouTube, go leave one here underneath our video. I'm pointing down right now. Go down there and type.
Nailed it.
And then press submit or enter. I don't know. If you're listening on in your ears, I guess either way you'd be listening. But if you were listening to just the audio version, go to YouTube and comment.
Yeah.
Or leave a review. Could be nice.
Come see our faces on YouTube. Come see the swag that we're dripped in.
That's true. Yeah, like Aqib Talib and Wade. We're dripping,
Facts. I should have worn my Super Bowl 50 chain.
Yeah. Well, there's a comment in here about that. Jeremy 1. This is kind of a shot at you. Eric balling out with the chains. I love this team. Go Broncos. No comment about you wearing the chain.
You had like 2 on, didn't you?
That's true. I did. Yeah. And,
you 2 chains, but you got a few on for a little bit.
Yeah. Not a long time. Can't mess with the hair.
No.
Bulwark Tier says, "G'day, guys. Great looking swag. Love hearing both takes on our Broncos. A lot of love for our defense, the best in the league. Go Broncos." This was Bill Bell, and these are from before the Giants game. Jackson Dart versus Denver defense should be interesting to watch. Denver brings the best pressure in the league. Sacks can be just as effective as turnover. As you said, you do not get turnovers when the QB never gets to throw the ball. The improvement on offense is in the run game. I think Bill, assuming it's Bill and not Bill Bell, that's all one word. Bill had a good point about the run game. That really kind of sparked the Broncos' comeback with J.K. Dobbins. Had that big run that set up the Broncos' first touchdown. So I think the Broncos, we'll get to this, but it'll be interesting to see what the Broncos' philosophy is this weekend offensively, because I think there's a couple different ways you could take it. Put a little pin in it.
We'll pin in that?
That's a good. If I forget, sometimes I start to say things and I forget. If I forget, remind me.
I got you.
Okay. Now the post-game pod. Doo-doo-doo.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anthony Bomer, 6313, says, a win us Broncos fans will remember forever. Agree with that. Our guy, Bulwark Tier, best fourth quarter ever. Ooh, and kind of blast the refs a little bit. Not going to read that. Thanks as always for the work you put in to bring us this content every week. Go Broncos, DB4L. Orlando 4Arrow says, love this podcast so much. I look forward to it almost as much as the game. Wow.
Aww, that's
Thanks,
so
Orlando.
nice.
The game was better than the podcast. I'll say it. We do the podcast, and I'll say it. I promise I'm not just reading this because it's about me.
Okay. In
this life or next. That's kind of a deep handle.
Okay. Oh, that's the handle. I thought that's how you started the comment.
No,
I was
no.
whoa.
The handle is in this life or next.
Okay.
Wow.
Maybe you'll always be a Broncos fan this life or next.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Great take, Aric. Your insight.
You don't even know what the take was of, huh?
I don't know. Great take.
You're like all of them.
Sure. Great take. Yeah. I'm just going to screenshot that, and anytime someone blasts me. Great take, Aric. Your insight is invaluable for us. Love the fact that you're ours. But for
in
real,
this life and next.
in this life or next. Yeah, and next. I'm yours. But for real, FR. I just know that means for real because I'm hip.
Gucci.
Both of you are invaluable. We're lucky to have y'all. Great work. Clapping emoji. Wow. That was a nice comment. That's got a comment of the year potential.
I got lumped in the both. I appreciate that.
Better than not being lumped in.
This is true.
Okay, Rob says, any team in the NFL who can score 25 points against you in the last 5 minutes is a deadly weapon. It doesn't matter if you like the Broncos or not. Any football fan can see how dangerous that is. Well, it's a Broncos podcast, so we do like the Broncos. But I agree with Rob that is dangerous.
Oh, these comments are great. We missed you guys.
Bill Bell. Back again. That was a very historic game. Bo and the team did a few things nobody has ever done. It was one of the most remarkable things I've seen in 65 years of watching AFL/NFL football. Wow. I have the feeling this is Denver's year. When Elway was playing, we knew they were probably able to come back when necessary, and I'm starting to believe Bo can do the same thing. Yeah, it's true. Bo is six fourth quarter comebacks since the start of last year, tied for the most in the NFL with
line.
Who is Baker
that?
Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield? Really?
I thought that was in, spoiler, I thought that was in 3 things this week. Was it not?
That was not.
Oh, okay. It was in something else. Something else on our website.
That's what was on the line? Like,
Baker Mayfield.
Baker cooking.
Which is, it's interesting if you think about that because Vic Fangio, former Broncos head coach, fan of meatballs, makes meatballs. Good Italian guy, from Pennsylvania. He was talking about. Sorry, I forgot I got caught on the Italian and my heritage. I was thinking about we posted a video back in the day of Vic Fangio making meatballs, but he has a secret recipe that I believe is his mother's or grandmother's. He would not share. And then another great moment about Vic Fangio when he was the head coach here. Or kind of straying from the topic a little bit.
A little bit.
I asked him what his favorite Thanksgiving side dish was, and he said pasta.
Way to hit the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, well, got a good answer. Also a fan of Hallmark movies. Vic, he was good in those pressers. Anyway, Vic Fangio, now the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, talked about how Bo reminded him of Baker Mayfield. So kind of interesting that stat. That took me like 2 minutes to explain.
I was gonna say you
simple.
circled it. It went from line to like that.
Okay. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love my Broncos. Justin Barrow says, first, go Broncos. Gray Mouser. Here's the breakdown. They did everything they needed to do when they needed to do it. True. Nick Pet. You want my job?
Hashtag analysis.
Nick Petrie, 2595. Who's in first place in the AFC West? Denver Broncos. Orange Heart, Blue Heart. Orange Heart, Blue Heart. Salute, 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 salute. Could have done one more salute, I think, Nick. That would have really
brought it home.
That would have brought it home. Dennis Murtha says Mile High Magic for sure.
For sure.
And then the Stone Cold Steve Austin fella says point after attempts are 33 yards away, and the Giants missed their point after so we could win. It's a throwback to a tie to the DT stat. So another good point there. Lots of little hints of DT.
Yeah.
Cortland finished with 87 yards. Do you think the NFL could be kind enough to just like find another yard?
Just on the stats.
Like on that last catch, maybe they didn't spot it exactly where he caught it. Maybe. In my mind, he had 88. And then Team Took. I have no idea what this is about, but Elisa, get that fake beard for Aric, LOL JK. That game had a 2015 vibe to it, not to mention the last 3 weeks with the comeback wins. Did we talk about beards?
I feel like we did, but we also went a little off the rails last episode. So why would I get you a
Somebody asked me
beard?
if I could grow a beard? I don't know. I feel like maybe that happened at some point, but I don't remember when that was.
At this point, it's like, I don't even know what did.
That's true. Back in London, who knows?
Could have been back in London.
Okay, that's all we got.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And we'll read it.
I was like, that's it.
That's it. That's all I got.
It's very direct, very direct. Yeah. Leave a comment. We will read it. We appreciate you guys commenting, though. So, again, make sure you guys like, subscribe, send this to your friends so they can also comment, and, we'll read them on there. It's one of my favorite parts. I like story time with you in terms of your comments that you read, mostly because some of them I feel like you prep, and then some of them I feel like you just go into
prep
them.
Any of these, I just read them. Actually, I saw the one about me. I had seen that one.
You're like, I'm gonna save this one for Thursday. Well, again, this episode is not only to celebrate you guys and all the wins that we've had so far, and I'll read your amazing comments, but also to break down the upcoming matchups. So, can you believe it's week 8? Like the fact that we're already into week 8.
Yes, I'm tired.
Yeah. The Broncos are 5-2. They're facing the Dallas Cowboys, who just came off a big win against the Commanders, 44-22. A lot of big explosive plays in that game. And I think that's one of the things you have to talk about, because the Cowboys do have the number 1 total offense in the league right now, and they're going against an elite pass rush that the Broncos have. But we have to break this down little by little. So let's start with the quarterback. I mean, Dak Prescott has definitely been impressive. I know it's interesting when you look at his stats when he's pressured and things like that, or when he can't even talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just running. I'm thinking of so many things at once. I want to talk about so many things. But Dak Prescott, when he gets sacked 2+ times, his stats do change a little bit. And I think with this Broncos pass rush, if you're able to get to him and really kind of make him uncomfortable early, I think that start fast mentality is going to really help them here. But how do you see this playing out with the Cowboys coming into town?
Yeah, I mean, and this is no disrespect to anybody the Broncos have played this year, but Dak is playing at a level kind of unlike any quarterback the Broncos have seen so far. And in some ways, I think this might be the most difficult test the Broncos have had this season, potentially. We're talking about an offense. Obviously, the Colts are playing at a really high level offensively.
But it was early on when we played them. We weren't really sure what they were going to be.
Yeah, and it's turned out that they've been good, right? They're 6-1. They're at the top of the AFC South, but there's a lot of weapons there. There's a lot of weapons in Dallas. And if you look at just the quarterback play, I think you could maybe argue that Dak Prescott is playing quarterback at a higher level than anybody in the league, especially over the last several weeks.
Yeah.
Since week 2, Dak is first in passing yards, first in passing touchdowns, first in passing first downs. Weeks 4 through 7, he's thrown 13 touchdowns, no interceptions, has a 128.1 passer rating. He's averaging 3.5 touchdowns per game and less than 1 sack per game. He's also thrown 3 touchdowns and no picks in 4 straight games which is the longest streak in Dallas history. It's the second longest streak in a season since 1970. And if you look at all the guys who have done it either 5 times or 4 times, they've all made the playoffs. So you're looking at a guy that is playing at an absolute elite level.
Yeah.
He's got 1,800, almost 1,900 pass yards, 16 passing touchdowns, which is second in the NFL. 91 passing first downs. Those are all second in the NFL. And then he leads in completions, second in pass attempts. He's on it right now.
Yeah.
And this Broncos defense is going to have to be ready to play. Interestingly enough, the Broncos have played Dak twice in his career. In 2017 in Denver, obviously Vance Joseph calling the plays. Vance Joseph, the Broncos head coach at that time. Denver won, I believe, 42-17. It was punctuated by, I believe, the longest pick six in Broncos history by Aqib Talib late in that game. And then in 2021, the Broncos went to Dallas. I believe they won 30-16. Teddy Bridgewater, that was, I remember, a long pass to Tim Patrick. And the Broncos really early kind of jumped out to a lead. And that was a big upset when the Broncos won that game. The Cowboys, I believe, had 1 loss at that time. They were 6-1, 7-1. The Broncos, I believe, were 2-3, maybe 3-4, somewhere around there, and just came out and had a big win. So the Broncos have had success against the Cowboys, and I don't think they've lost to the Cowboys since '92, if I remember properly. Obviously, they don't play all that much, but they found success. But Dak, like I said, he's playing at an elite level. I think you're right. You've got to pressure him. You've got to force him to be uncomfortable, because you mentioned the stat about the sacks, right? That when he takes a couple of sacks, then his passer rating goes down about 30 points, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When he's taken 1 or fewer sacks, 13 touchdowns, no picks, basically 120 passer rating. But it hasn't happened that much. It's only happened in weeks 2 and 3, so that he's been sacked multiple times. So it's going to be difficult for the Broncos to do that. They also have, obviously, the best pass rush in the league right now. Weirdly enough, he's 2-0 in his career against teams that lead the NFL in sacks entering the game.
That's kind of a crazy stat.
It is. So he's found a way to find that success. But yeah, we'll talk about all the weapons that he has, because he has a lot of weapons. There are guys all over the field. But yeah, and we heard a bunch of different guys talk about it. Sean Payton, Pat Surtain. Dak is playing at an elite level, and you got to be ready to go. And this is a guy that people are talking about as an MVP candidate. I think we're going to see him score some points, and so we'll talk about it with the offense, but you got to be ready to go. And then we'll talk about these other playmakers, but can you make 1 or 2 plays? Like, can you get a big sack on 3rd down and force a field goal instead of a touchdown? Or can you get a turnover or 2 that can swing the game in your momentum, in your direction? Because he's going to make his plays. And so this one, to me, feels like, can you find a way to make a couple plays of your own to swing it in your direction? Because I don't see against this offense, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't see against this offense just like shutting them down for 4 quarters. Yeah. So even with Pat Surtain and Riley Moss on the outside, even with these pass rushers and Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper, who are among the best in the league, there's still going to be a handful to deal with.
And that's one thing that I think they're ready to face that challenge. If you're watching on YouTube, they just saw you fix your hair. Yeah, it looks great.
It look nice?
Looks great. It always looks great. But when we talked to guys in the locker room, Zach Allen mentioned, this is going to be a good game, because not only are we going against the best, but we can kind of measure how we can stack up against them, right? And he's like, and we also know as a defense, we have to bounce back from last week, because this is not a team you can get behind. This is not a team that's going to, not try to score as many points on you as possible. And if your offense is trying to string drives together, the defense is really going to have to step up against this team in particular. And it's really interesting, because J.K. Dobbins had mentioned that following the win against the Giants, where he said, I'm happy we won, but we can't do this when we're facing one of those top-tier quarterbacks and not, a rookie or whoever. And as you mentioned, no disrespect to the quarterbacks that we face, but Dak is playing at a high level. And when you're able to have explosive plays and able to use the entire field and drive down quick and things like that, the defense can't be caught off balance in that sense. And so I think for this defense, they're ready for the challenge. They're excited for the challenge. They like that number one versus number one mentality in terms of just the best offense, which they have said the Broncos have the best defense. And Riley Moss said it, you have to shake off those moments of, okay, the guy caught a ball on me. Got to shake it off. Got to go to the next one because that's going to happen. This is the NFL. You're facing the best of the best. But it's a good challenge for them to have because not only do you have Dak Prescott, who's obviously playing at the level that he is, but you look at the Broncos pass rush, they're first in sacks, first in QB hits, QB pressures, QB pressure percentage, and they're the first in having players with 3+ sacks. They have 5 of them. So the fact that this entire team is eating in terms of going after the quarterback is going to be clutch because, as you mentioned, they're establishing a good run game, but George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are definitely going to be guys that they're going to try to get the ball to, and Dak Prescott has had a lot of success getting that ball to them.
Yeah, I think your point about kind of they're going to make their plays, you got to make yours is a good one. We hear Sean Payton say a lot, get on to the next play. Mm-hmm. That to me feels important in this game because you're not going to blank CeeDee Lamb, you're not going to blank George Pickens. And we'll talk about what those guys have accomplished, but they're going to make their plays.
Yeah.
Can you, if they get a 20-yard catch or a 30-yard catch, or even a touchdown, like can you come back on the next drive and get a 3-and-out? Can you get a big third down stop? Can you in the red zone hold them to 3 points? Like that could be the difference in this game because they're going to find ways to make plays. Like you're talking about in CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, 2 guys who are basically each number 1 receivers in this league, and they're playing at a really high level. CeeDee Lamb just came back from injury, and he was on it right away. 5 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown in that Week 7 win over Washington. He's had 100 receiving yards in each of the 3 games he's played and finished this year. Denver's allowed just 1 receiver this year to have 100 yards. Against Philly, Devonta Smith had 114. They've only allowed 1 touchdown to an opposing receiver this year. So you've got CeeDee Lamb. We'll see if Pat Surtain matches up against him or how that works. But on the other side, you've got George Pickens, who really found his groove while CeeDee Lamb was out. He's got 36 catches, 607 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns this year. He's 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. He's 2nd in catches of 20-plus yards. And so he's playing at a really high level, too. And they're both physical receivers, right? Pickens, I don't know if people remember last year against the Steelers, he didn't have a huge stat line, but he did draw a couple of pass interference penalties that set the Steelers up for success. So he's going to be just as difficult to deal with. You're going to need Riley Moss and Surtain to play at a high level. Surtain, they've been doing that, right? Surtain, 17 receptions for 177 receiving yards and no touchdowns on just 30 targets this year. So you're talking about 4 targets a game. And about, what is that? We've played, between 2 and 3 catches a game for, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this math. Not a lot of yards.
I was told there'd be no math.
Yeah. Me too. Second fewest receiving yards allowed among DBs targeted 30-plus times this year. 0.7 yards per coverage snap, lowest in the NFL among DBs, minimum of 30 targets, and then a 26.7 ball hawk percentage, which is either a pick or a pass defense, 2nd in the NFL. And then Riley Moss himself, a 39.1 completion percentage allowed. That's lowest in the NFL among defensive backs. So
you know what? Say that stat again, because Moss has been getting a lot of, comments about his play, but he's playing at an elite level. So in case you didn't hear, you want to read that stat again?
39.1 completion percentage allowed in 2025, which is the lowest among DBs. So he's playing at a high level as well. But that's not it. I mean, you'd think, okay, they've got CeeDee Lamb, they've got George Pickens. Can you find a way to slow them? Okay. Well, then you got Jake Ferguson, who leads all tight ends with 51 receptions, 4th most receptions in the NFL. He's got 334 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. So he and Pickens each have 6 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions, he's the only one who has more touchdowns than them.
It's only one more, to be clear.
Only one more.
Yeah.
First tight end with 50-plus catches and 6 receiving touchdowns in the team's first 7 games of a season. And then Ertz, only one tight end in history has more catches than Ferguson through 7 games. So through the passing game, I mean, it makes sense why, like, it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing. Dak is playing at a really high level, but he's also got these elite weapons, right? And so you're going to have to find a way to I don't know. Do you pick one of these guys to stop and try to let the other two beat you, or I don't know exactly how you handle this. I will say one thing, and this is kind of turning to the other element of this, is that the Cowboys run play action at a really high rate. This is this research packet this week.
It's massive.
It's like a book.
It's massive. It's like a game book.
Dak leads the NFL in completion percentage and passer rating on play action this year, and they run play action at the 4th highest rate in football. Why are they doing that? Because Javonte Williams, former Bronco, is playing at a really high level.
Yeah, he found his groove, and we'll get to him in a second because I know a lot of the guys in the locker room spoke about him and how happy they are for him and the success that he's found. But when you talk about just like those downfield passes, Prescott has 120.4 passer rating, 6 touchdowns, only 1 interception on downfield passes, which is obviously 10-plus yards or more. Prescott has a 75.8 passer rating. Prescott is 75.8 passer rating, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on downfield passes this year.
That was last year.
Last year. Well, it says 2025.
It was wrong. The rare research note that led us astray. So this year he's been much better. 120 passer rating, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick.
Yeah, and then you look at Denver's defense, and they've allowed 31.5 completion percentage on downfield passes, and then they allowed 67.4 pass rating on downfield passes, which is 4th lowest in the NFL. I believe that was for last year, I'm assuming.
No, that's this year. And the completion percentage lowest in the NFL this year. So Dak's really good at throwing it. It's kind of this matchup of strengths, right?
Yes.
Dak's really good at throwing it down the field. The Broncos have been really good at not allowing that. Dak's really good at scoring points and getting yards. Broncos have been really good at not allowing that. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens really good at racking up yards and catches and all that.
Broncos really good at stopping that from the wide receiver. But that, again, that's the part where I always like joke and say, like, I am a defensive girly, because I feel like it all comes down to that, like your defensive play. Like your defensive play can slow those down, because when you're looking at, like you mentioned, like the run game that they're able to really produce, Javonte Williams has had a pretty good season with them. A really good season with them. If you really want to look at it, he's, trying to look right here for his stats.
He's second in the NFL.
I was going to say 592 rush yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, tied for 3rd in the NFL this season. Only Jonathan Taylor has more rush yards than Williams. And, I think for him, one of the things that the guys are saying in the locker room, I heard a reporter ask, I won't name who, but they were like, oh, are you like, how amazed are you? They were asking Jonathan Cooper, and he's like, well, I'm not amazed. Like he was the guy that was really battling some injuries, and he's like, for us, like we're happy that he's found his groove and he's able to have success. And so they joked and they said, okay, like, so what happens when you face your former teammates? And he was like, well, I'm not gonna go easy on them. Like, he's like, once the game starts, I feel like all is fair in love and war. But this defense has been very well at stopping running backs. I mean, they faced elite ones over the last few weeks, Saquon being one of them, and they were able to take them out of the game. Even Cam Scatterboo from the Giants, yes, he had a good game, but when you look at his stats, I don't think he had that many rushing yards. If I have his stats here, he only had 60 yards rushing. Granted, you felt them, I feel like, but
he had a good game.
He had a good game, but it's like, you didn't go off for 100 yards on the Broncos defense. So they've been able to kind of slow down the rushing attack, and that's something they're going to have to do, especially when their old friend comes back to town.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Javonte to see the success. Obviously, you don't want it this weekend, right? But Javonte's such
any other weekend but this one.
Yeah, such a good guy, such a good person, and he was really impressive his rookie year.
Yeah,
and then obviously has the injury early. In his second season, I think tried to work his way back, never quite got back to where he was. This year he's been even better than he was his rookie year. And I think what stands out to me is something that was very clear his rookie year, which was he was going to run over dudes. And he was going to – I think one of my favorite plays of his, the Broncos are playing against the Ravens. That must have been his rookie year. Yeah, his rookie year. And Marlon Humphrey's on his back, and Javonte carries him for like 20 yards, and he cannot tackle him. And if you look at the stats, Javonte's 463 rush yards after contact are second in the NFL. He has 142 rush yards over expected, which the NFL has this statistical formula where, hey, this is blocked a certain way. You're expected to get 5 yards. If you get 7 yards, you're 2 yards over expected. So, Javonte's been good in that area. And I would say one thing, the rush defense has been good. Trying to pull up the stats here in terms of the rankings, but you know, Scatabo did have last week, I thought, several runs where the Broncos had him initially, and then, you know, he would rip off 5 to 10 more yards or kind of bowl over a guy and find a way to add to that total. So that's got to be something this week, especially against Javonte Williams, who's been really good, again, at yards after contact, that you can't let that happen. Denver's rushing defense right now, 9th in the NFL. So it's been good. They're allowing fewer than 100 yards per game, but you're going to have to be on that. And to me, we'll see what happens, but I don't think you can let the Cowboys remain balanced. Like, it's one thing if Dak is going to throw it a bunch of times to CD and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson, but if you also are letting Javonte Williams gain 4 or 5 yards a carry, it's going to be really difficult to stop both those things. I think you have to find a way to stop the run, and it's easier said than done. Like, the Broncos allowed some long 3rd and 4th downs last week. You got to find a way to correct that. Dak's still going to make some plays where it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, and he's gonna make a big play. He's just playing at a high level. It's going to happen, I think. But you've got to put the Cowboys in that situation, because if they live in 2nd and 5 or 3rd and 3, and now you can run it or you can throw it, that becomes hard to stop. So I think things have to begin for the Broncos, as they do kind of every week, of we got to stop the run. We got to find a way to slow Javonte Williams down. And then you go from there in terms of defending the rest of it. And I do think you're able to devote more resources to stopping the run, probably because you have a Pat Surtain and because Riley Moss has played so well.
Yeah.
If you don't have an elite corner like Pat Surtain that you can trust to kind of be on, and I don't know if they'll put him on CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens, we'll see.
Yeah.
But if you don't have an elite corner to do that, it's harder to put more guys in the box to say, let's stop the run. It's harder to, to sell out, to stop that and force them into long 3rd downs. But when you have a guy like Pat, and you have a guy playing at the level that Riley Moss is, and you trust those guys, I think it then becomes a little bit easier to try to devote resources to stop the run. So we'll see what happens, and maybe the Broncos say, hey, if you want to run it, go ahead. We're not going to let you beat us with these deep passes, these chunk plays. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But to me, even though the Broncos have a top 5 defense, this league, I just feel like top offense versus top defense, the offense often finds a little bit of an edge. And so success in this game to me is not, hey, can the Broncos shut them out or hold them to 7 points? It's, can you, again, and I've said it a few times here, can you hold them in the red zone? Can you hold them on big 3rd downs? Can you not allow huge chunk explosive plays? Can you get a turnover or two where, maybe the Cowboys still score? And I mean, if you look at what they've done this year, they've scored at least 27 points in each of their last 4 games, and they've scored 40 on 3 occasions this year. They've scored 37 in another. So they know how to put up points. And so it's not to me about, can you hold them to 7 points? Can you hold them to 10 points? It might be, hey, can you hold them in the high 20s, but you make a play? Or even if it's, low 30s, like, do you come up with a big-time strip sack? Do you come up with a big-time interception? Do you come up with a big-time 3rd down stop that you really need? This, to me, is about making the big plays, and I really think in some ways it's preparing you for what you'll see in the postseason eventually. Obviously, the Broncos got to keep winning to get there, but you look at this schedule the rest of the way, the Chiefs, maybe the Packers, like, those are, right now at least, and it can obviously change, kind of the offenses that are playing at a high level. And the Packers, even, I think it's more, they've shown it less than like a week-to-week thing. The Chiefs are obviously rolling right now that they got Rashee Rice back, but you're not going to see many offenses better than this Cowboys offense, right? And so it prepares you, I think, defensively for, hey, do we see the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs? Do we see, we'll see if the Ravens can get it back together with Lamar Jackson, but like those types of teams, the Chiefs, maybe the Patriots, the way they're playing on offense right now, if you see them in the postseason. But these are the types of offenses that you're going to see down the road that you're going to need to beat to win a world championship. And so this is, I think, a really interesting measuring stick defensively of, hey, how do we play against these elite groups? And, we both know the Broncos didn't love how they played defensively against Buffalo in the playoffs last year, against Baltimore last year. They've changed the one-score narrative this year. Can you now change the narrative of, hey, facing an elite offense, what do you do when you go up against those guys? And again, it's not about stopping them every time or holding them scoreless. It's about, hey, can you make some plays and give your offense a chance to keep you in the game?
You bring up a good point, because when you're mentioning the fact that the defense can stop or stall them out and things like that, one thing that the Cowboys have that a lot of teams don't have in their back pocket is a really good kicker. And Brandon Aubrey has 5 career field goals of 60-plus yards, most in NFL history, and he's 5 for 5 on 50-plus yard field goals in 2025, 2 for 2 on 60-plus yard field goals, 15 for 15 on all field goal attempts. So it's not only the fact of keeping them out of field goal range means a different thing for the Cowboys. And I think, as you mentioned, like trying to just make it as difficult as possible to get them in position, or as you mentioned, if they're keeping them out of 3rd and 5, keeping them out of, second and short, like keeping them out of those manageable situations where they can kind of attack you in different ways, it's almost like just have them out of reach completely. And I know that's not something they're going to be able to do every single play, but I think it's enough that where your offense can strike back, or offense sustains long drives to give the defense much needed rest so that they can go back out there and continue to kind of keep Dak Prescott and his offense off balance, is another thing you're going to have to face, because obviously in the Giants game, their kicker missed 2 extra points, and they ended up, those other things that happened, but that was a big piece of the game that allowed the Broncos to kind of claw their way back. And so for this team, you're looking at that and just the fact of what they're able to do. One thing that's interesting about the stats and the numbers that you just put on, how many points they put up, Dallas at home is plays very well, 41.3 points per game, over 400 yards in total yards per game. But on the road, they're 24.5 points per game, 352.8 yards of total yards per game. So they're 1-2 on the road this season. Obviously, as you mentioned, stats are stats. Any given Sunday, that can change very quickly. But I think you're put in a position where you're coming here, altitude, the fans. This is part of what we talked about early on, of taking advantage of this home field to use that to combat the balancedness that Dallas offense presents.
Yeah, I would say from a road perspective, and I'm pulling up the snap counts here. I don't believe.
Scrolling.
CD Lamb only played 7 snaps in their road game against Chicago. They scored 14 points in that game. And then
he missed 3, right? So that would have been.
He's missed 3 games, yeah.
Yeah.
So he played in Philly, where they lost 24-20 on the road against the defending Super Bowl champions. He had 7 catches for 110 yards in that game. And then their other road game he played in at Chicago, he played just 7 snaps. So when you look at kind of what they've done this year in terms of their other road games, at New York, they scored 37 points, so fine on the road there. And then at Carolina, they scored 27 points. They lost. Again, didn't have CD Lamb, lost in a 3-point game. So statistically, like, it's true that they haven't been quite as efficient on the road. Obviously, you've got the crowd noise.
Altitude here too.
Yeah, but so it is a little bit different. But all that said, I don't know if there's enough yet. It's still early in the season. They didn't have Lamb. I don't know if there's enough for me to be like, they're struggling on the road. I think it might be more circumstance rather than a trend. But your point about Aubrey is good. We normally don't talk a lot about field goal kickers going into the matchup.
Right.
And I think beyond the missed extra points, the other thing last week with New York was that there were a couple times where they could have tried a 55-yard field goal or a 50-plus yard field goal, and they decided to punt because they didn't believe in his distance, I guess. And so that's not going to be the case this week, right? And when you cross the 50-yard line, and maybe even if you're at the 50-yard line, they're going to kick a field goal with Aubrey
if they get a chance.
Can. So I'll be interested to see how many times the Cowboys punt on Sunday, because the kickoff goes to the 35-yard line if it's a touchback. Maybe you can stop him at the 25 or the 30 if you cover. But like a couple first downs and boom, you're right on the edge of field goal range. And so it's not the end of the world if Brandon Aubrey's kicking a lot of field goals because
three is better than 6.
Exactly, 3 is better than 6, 7. But I do think there's a chance that like you're going to see, hey, this drive for the Cowboys, maybe you get a stop, maybe you're holding them around the 40, but they're still adding 3. You got to make sure not to let those drives add up too much. And the only other thing I'll say on Aubrey is that there's been this chatter around the league that maybe this is the year you see a 70-yarder. And with this guy's leg, I'm not going to say it's going to happen for sure. You need the right circumstance, but certainly not out of the question that you could see this guy do something that has never been done because of the altitude, because of his leg strength and his power. He's right up there with the best kickers in the NFL. So that is something to monitor, and we'll see how it plays out. But that kind of brings us to what the Broncos will do offensively.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, with Denver's defense being able to try to do what they can to hold off, you are going against a high-powered offense, and it is going to be how the offense is able to respond if Dak goes down and scores a touchdown or if they kick a field goal. Like, how do you respond to, I don't want to say keep up, but to maintain like a healthy balance of how this game is going to go? Because a lot of guys on offense have talked about it. Like, you can't go 3 quarters, you can't go 45 minutes and not score anything and then score 33 points in the fourth quarter. As amazing as that was, that's not sustainable to survive and go where the Broncos want to go, especially as you mentioned, when they start facing elite quarterbacks. So looking at the offense, they're going against the Cowboys defense that has allowed 29.4 points per game in 2025. They rank last in terms of allowing, I think it's like total offense allowed or something like that. But the Broncos have an opportunity to take advantage and hopefully take advantage early. And we put a pin in it. I am now taking that pin out. But before we get to Bo, I do want to talk about the run game just because we had talked about Javonte Williams. You put a pin in it. I'm taking it out. It's your turn to shine.
Yeah, I think, you're right about like what the Broncos have to do to succeed in this game. You've got to start faster, and it's got to be more. It's not just starting faster because the Broncos started fast against the Jets in the first quarter in general. I know they had the opening drive fumble, but it's got to be more consistent, right? Because you've got to sustain drives, and you can't just go 3 and out, punt it back, 3 and out, punt it back, especially against this offense.
Yeah.
And we heard Sean Payton say that they've changed practice a little bit this week. He didn't go into specifics of how, but they're trying to make Wednesday practice, and I would assume the rest of the week, just put you in a better position to be ready to go on Sunday. And I think Bo Nix, there was somebody in the locker room was talking about how the offense was maybe watching film together a little bit more as opposed to in position groups. So it'll be interesting to see how do these changes impact the overall performance. And I think when you watch it, last week, notwithstanding, because there were moments last week where you could have, and Cortland Sutton said this on the podium, if he catches a ball, I believe it was on second down, now you've got a 3rd and 4 instead of 3rd and 10 on the opening drive. Or if you limit penalties, and penalties obviously have been a huge issue, this team has got to find a way to correct them. Sean Payton was saying it would be unprecedented to continue to have this number of penalties and then have the success that we want to have. So you've got to find a way to correct that. Against New York, right, we talked about, hey, there's a drop here, there's a penalty here, there's a missed assignment here. You're close to making these plays, and I think you see late against the Giants, late against the Jets, late against the Eagles. They're capable of doing all this, but you got to find a way to do it more consistently. So I think it starts with that, and it's a Broncos thing, it's not even related to any opponent. It's how do we make sure that we're executing at a high level? Even simple things as I saw a clip on Twitter today. The Broncos run a read option, and Bo hands it off, and then you can see the end crashing down, which means, hey, I'm supposed to take this myself. And Bo kind of like jumps up and claps his hand because he knows if he keeps that ball, it's a 20, 30, 40, maybe a touchdown, right? And so those are the small things that you're watching it and you're like, okay, this was a 2-yard gain. And then you go back and watch it, and it's just one little thing that could have changed it to a huge gain, a touchdown maybe. So those things all stand out to me. The Giants' defensive line was a huge problem. It was a real test. The Cowboys have guys, right, like Kenny Clark, who they got when they traded Micah Parsons, is a really good player, Pro Bowler. But maybe across the line, it's not necessarily the same number of first-round picks. And so we'll get to their defense in a second. But one thing that I'll be interested in is Sean Payton always talks about there's a way to win every football game, right?
Yeah.
And this week with the Cowboys, who you assume are going to score, is that, okay, we're going to go shot for shot with them. We're going to try to push it down the field. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to go for it on fourth down. We're going to try to beat them 40-39. Or, and we mentioned the run game being a big part of it last week in terms of getting things going. Are you trying to find these long, methodical drives where you're trying to keep them off the field? And, hey, it's this 8-minute scoring drive. It's this 7.5-minute scoring drive where Dak and CD and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson, all those guys, Javonte Williams, they're watching from the sideline. And, you could really go either way. Both could be successful, but I'm interested to see what is, and maybe you try to even do both, but like what is the way that Sean Payton wants to attack this defense? Because, I think there's a world where you do say, hey, we're going to come out, and I remember last year in Tampa, everybody thought, oh, this is a really good Tampa offense. They're thriving. They're firing on all cylinders. The Broncos are going to come out. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to play time of possession. They're going to try to keep Baker off the field. And then the first drive, Bo Nix throws it like 5 times, and they're in the end zone before you know it. And then then they do the same thing on the next drive. And
set the tone early of what it was going to be.
But it was like an aggressiveness, right? And everyone thought, hey, this is going to be, let's keep the ball away from Baker. That'll be interesting to me this week of, is the strategy to, and neither is wrong, and I don't know which one is right, but
the right one's one that works.
That's a good point. But you got to decide what is the right way to do this. Is it to attack, or is it to kind of play ball control? And Sean Payton's talked about that. I can't remember what team it was against, but I think when he was in Dallas with Bill Parcells, he talked about, hey, there was this one game where they're playing a team and they're number 1 in the league in offense, and everyone's thinking, hey, let's slow play this. Let's hold the ball. And instead, Parcells says, hey, we're going after him. And so I'll be interested to see how the Broncos handle that this week against Dallas.
How do you see just how this run game unfolds? I mean, J.K. Dobbins leads Denver with 105 carries, 523 rush yards, 4 rush TDs in 2025, all top 10 in the NFL. Only Jonathan Taylor has more runs of 10-plus yards than Dobbins. This season, the Broncos have averaged around 131.9 rush yards per game. The Cowboys defense, has allowed 30-plus points and 4 yards. They've allowed 141.3 rush yards per game, both close to the last in the NFL. I think, as you mentioned, it's really interesting because as great as the Dallas offense is, they do have spots that you can attack and take advantage of. And I think with J.K. Dobbins and what he's been able to do, I think last week he had 80 yards rushing, give or take. But then it's like, how do you maximize opportunities, or how do you use him in those runs to set up Bo passing a touchdown or Bo running in for a touchdown? Bo Nix has a pass touchdown in 15 straight games, third longest active streak in the NFL. How do you see him responding in this game? Obviously, he talked on the podium on Wednesday and just kind of trying to find ways to stay aggressive. And he mentioned, like, the guys on the offense, like, they have this edge to them where they're tired of it too. They want to get over that hump to kind of really sustain drives and attack early. How do you see him attacking this Dallas Cowboys defense?
Yeah, well, they need to respond offensively as a unit. It's not just Bo, because I think he's played well really the last couple of weeks, and especially in the fourth quarters, like he's come alive. There's this clutch gene,
which is important to have. And again, I think everyone needs to remember, this is Bo Nix's second year in the league. Like, there are aspects of his games that he is going to learn. And having that clutch gene, to me, honestly, that can't be taught. You either have that or you don't. And now we're seeing it really play out. But I just had to rant on that real quick because I feel like people forget that Bo is a young quarterback in this league, and he is going to learn and continue to get better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But they need to take a step forward this week. I think they have the opportunity to take a step forward. You mentioned all the stats about Dallas's defense. 375 yards allowed in 5 games, most in the NFL. 30 points allowed in 4 games, tied for the most in the NFL. There's an opportunity here. You've got to take advantage of it. And I think to some degree the Broncos will take advantage of it. And again, going back to the fact that they need to, where is this stat here? To me, this is a game where you've got to score 28. You might have to score in the 30s because Dallas, just the way their offense is built, even though you've got this elite defense for Denver, I think you're still going to have to find a way to score points and score enough points because the Cowboys 38-5 when allowing 24 or fewer points since 2021. That's 88% of their games. So when they're in these games where their defense does come to play and they're not allowing a bunch of points, they're really good. And they found a lot of success. Where you've been able to maybe get after them a little bit more is when you can take advantage of kind of the defense a little bit and score, put up some points. So, again, I don't know how they're going to do it because I do think you could score 28 points by, having 4 long drives where you just keep Dallas off the field. But it really wouldn't surprise me based on just kind of the history and how we've seen Sean Payton attack some of these teams in the past, like a Tampa, like his mentor Bill Parcells did. If the Broncos say, we're coming out firing and we're coming out ready to attack these guys. So I'll be interested to see how it plays out. But it does feel to me like you're going to have to score to win this game. And I think the Broncos there's been a lot of chatter about how do you turn the page from an emotional win. And Sean Payton has talked about the record of teams after an emotional win had not been very good. I agree that it was an emotional win, but you talk to the offensive guys in the locker room, especially the offensive guys, the defensive guys as well, but mainly the guys on offense. And it's like, yeah, we won, but there's a lot of things that we're not pleased about.
Yeah.
And so it's not like this game where you're like, man, we were perfect, or you just beat a team 30-0.
Or like you're like content with the fact that the win is the win. It's like that's not where they're at.
Yeah, I think that they very much are like, we're not playing as well or anywhere near as well as we want to or we think we can play. Yeah. And so I think you're going to see a fired up, motivated group, and we'll see the Cowboys. Cowboys. I'm looking at the Giants score. It almost threw me off there. The Cowboys have a couple guys in Trayvon Diggs. He's still in concussion protocol as of the time we're recording this. We'll see if he plays. That would obviously be a loss. Overshawn returned to practice, linebacker that would make a big difference. Doesn't sound like he's targeting to play this week, but again, that would be a difference maker for the Dallas defense. So, and they've made some plays. They held the Commanders last week to 22 points, and I know that Jaden Daniels was a little banged up, and some of that scoring got inflated toward the end, but you can't, and they held the Jets to 22 points. You can't just expect that you're going to come in and be able to do whatever you want, but you do have to find more success than being shut out through 3 quarters or having 10 points through 3 quarters. This is a game you're going to have to find a way to score points.
Yeah, and I think, obviously they scored a season high in points last week, and I think that's encouraging, right? Like, that you're aware that you can do this. Now it's just a matter of spreading it out through 4 quarters. So it's going to be an exciting matchup. Obviously the Cowboys, I feel like their record doesn't indicate how well they've been playing. They're 3-3-1.
Right.
The Broncos.
It's a good team.
Yeah, it's a good team, and obviously they're facing the Broncos, who are 5-2, top of the AFC West, looking to stay there, looking to extend. As you had mentioned, these are the kind of games, especially playing at home, where you take advantage of playing at home, especially when you're in this position to kind of get some cushion in the AFC West. But it's going to be an exciting matchup. I really can't wait. There's so much going to be going on aside from the game. Obviously, throwbacks, and it is our
Vamos Broncos game.
There you go. I appreciate you catching that on. Yes, it is our Vamos Broncos game, celebrating Hispanic heritage. That's always a fun one for fans. So if you guys are going to come to the game, make sure you guys come early because you're going to have the return of Mile High Lucha Libre. That's going to start at 12 south on Main Street. It's going to be face painting, food trucks. There's going to be Salvadorian food out there. I know. I don't know if I'll be able to
set that up.
Maybe. A lot of decorations, a lot of photo opportunities for you guys. It's going to be a great giveaway at the stadium. So make sure you guys, again, head over early to enjoy all the festivities of our Vamos Broncos game. It's very intertwined. A lot of the guys get into it. And it's always fun. Obviously, me being Latina, it's always fun for me to have those games and share those moments with Broncos country. So it was really cool. I think going a little tangent, just seeing, you had mentioned, I think in London, like you had saw a fan that had traveled from different Latin countries. So I don't know. These games are always fun. This is my second one here, obviously, but
yeah, a passionate part of the Broncos fan base, and always nice to celebrate people, and it'll be fun. Are you going to get in the wrestling ring?
I was going to say, have you ever had Salvadorian food?
I don't know.
I might have to go out there and just be like, exactly. No, you know what? I actually asked Steve. I was like, what would be our Hall of Famer, Steve Atwater? I was like, what would be your wrestling name?
We gotta keep Steve away from the wrestling. he's in no shape to do that.
He was like, ooh. And he was like,
bad for Steve.
You just have to watch Broncos HQ on YouTube to find out what he said. Because
Good plug.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so those are always fun. Miles is out there. It's just a good time. So again, make sure you guys head out early. The festivities for Vamos Broncos start at 11:30 a.m. and in Power Field at Mile High. But until then, we will have you covered by listening to this podcast, Broncos HQ, and obviously all the latest on DenverBroncos.com. But we're going to head out of here. We appreciate you guys listening and tuning in into another episode of Altitude Advantage. Broncos country, we're going to need you on Sundays. Make sure you guys are loud. Make sure you guys are rowdy. Disrupt their huddle. Wear all your throwback gear. Stop by the team store. I don't have the item of the game, but I do know that it's a good one. It was designed in-house by one of our designers, Julian, plugging him. He designed it himself. So make sure you guys stop by the team store and grab that item because it's actually really cool. It's actually one of my favorites. So you know I'm going to be up in there. You want to go with me to the team store when I go?
I've seen that before. It's scary. I'm gonna just... So you keep your hands away from like a dog when it's eating. Like, stay away from Elisa in the team store. Dangerous.
He's actually seen it live. The amount of times I've had to hide the bags that I bring from the team store.
Like a Black Friday situation.
Every Friday. All right, Broncos country. Once again, we appreciate you guys listening to another episode of Altitude Advantage, and we will see you guys on Sunday.